Hey gang, for today's video, I am honored to be joined by two members of the Turley Talks team for a very special video. These two work behind the scenes to bring you daily content and more. And most recently, they've worked with me and Turley Talks President Ralph Cochran to create our new documentary, The Return of the American Patriot, The Rise of Pennsylvania, which you can pre-purchase right now for 25% off, releasing September 15th. At the returnoftheamericanpatriot.com. So please welcome Josh Williams and Conrad Franz. Now you might notice something about these guys. They're both young in contrast to me. And, at our live movie premiere a few weeks back in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, we had the whole drama of getting canceled in two other venues. And finally, we were at the biggest venue we can imagine. We had 1,200 people come out. It was awesome. But we got so much comments from the attendees. They were so surprised and delighted to see how young my staff is. And so we're going to be talking to Conrad and Josh about the rise of the conservative Gen Zer as well as this brand new movie. So Josh, let me start with you, buddy. It's first of all, it's an honor to have you on the other side of the camera. Normally you're behind that there. You're our film director and editor. Yeah, good to see you, man. You've made people don't know you've made many award-winning movies in the past. So what was special about this project for you, The Return of the American Patriot?
Yeah, it was good to see you, Steve. What made this one, I think, more special was that it was my first time making a film where I didn't actually write the script. Conrad actually wrote a really good script, so that was pretty awesome. So it was a nice experience being able to, I guess, transition from taking somebody else's writing and finding a way to visually make it exciting and make it a little bit of my own style too. So that was pretty awesome. And also just working with everybody on the film was pretty great. Working with Free PA and Doug Mastriano, and being able to film and hear everyone's personal testimonials and stories about what they experienced during 2020 and just dealing with the current administration today as well, And also I think me being a native of Pennsylvania was pretty important for me to make sure I guess I made a solid film. Made sure that I didn't screw it up, basically. So
there you go. Yeah, and I've noticed some pictures of you hanging out with the future governor there. I've seen that on there.
Doug Mastriano, Senator. He's awesome. Him and his wife, just genuine people, genuine believers, and I think they're good for the future of Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. Yeah, and it is cool seeing young people hanging out with the future governor. That is pretty neat. Conrad, you are the writer of the movie. Very amazing script. And you took the ideas that we talk about all the time on this channel and you had them flow into this hour-long feature film. So what drew you to the story originally?
Yeah, well, I mean, you and me, Steve, we've had a million conversations. People on Insiders Club have seen a few of those. And, we like to talk about, resistance to globalism. And there's been, Pennsylvania has been the state where, in my opinion, Michigan and Ohio, but Pennsylvania was really, I would argue, the state that illustrated what happened in 2016 with Trump the best. And with the rural working class shifting, people that voted for Obama, people that weren't necessarily socially progressive, but were very perhaps pro-union, shifting towards Trump, and then seeing how that then kept playing out throughout the 2020 election, the pandemic, the crazy stuff we're seeing in our public schools, seeing that kind of rural revolution or kind of working class populist revival, that's a story that's happening everywhere in the world as globalism. And we talk a lot about things like reterritorialization, retraditionalization, and Pennsylvania is where kind of the American version of that is kind of happening. And so to talk to so many people on the ground, and I'm not from Pennsylvania, so it was really awesome for me to learn. I'm from Texas, so to go somewhere that was, Texas is more kind of, it's conservative and it is what it is, but Pennsylvania is kind of where the two visions that America's facing are clashing, and the Patriots are, as we see with Doug, I think they're winning. So I think it was a very it was the place to be now, as we see what's going to happen in 2022 in the midterms and what we'll see in 2024. It's the hot spot.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that how many counties we have in Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania that voted twice for Obama and then turned around voted twice for Trump. It's pretty astonishing. And people say, well, how do you do that? And you said it, I think you said it perfectly. Well, they didn't share Obama's liberalism, but they certainly shared his sense of, protectionism of jobs, and they were a little more comfortable leaning left on economics, and they were just waiting for a paradigm out there that could have that more left-leaning economics, but strong right conservative position on value, social issues, social values, and boom, Trump comes in and offers them best of both worlds. I mean, this movie really came out of something, at a personal level that I witnessed in Pennsylvania, speaking with the free PA groups that Josh had mentioned, and seeing that they were actually winning and how they were mobilizing all throughout the state and taking back school boards and the like. And we talk about here each and every day on this channel, what we're talking about here just got exemplified so well in Pennsylvania. So how did the two of you go about, taking that vision of the rise of a new conservative age and just turning it into a full-length movie? Josh, you want to take it first?
Sure. Yeah. So I think me, Conrad, and Ralph, who's also the executive producer, I think we were all on the same page about like making an educational, inspirational film, which is some of my favorite styles of films to make. I love being able to inspire people when they watch the film and educate them as well. So yeah, the film was, we wanted to make sure we focused on just understanding what's happening today, in the conservative age. And like I said, hear people's stories and people who actually went out and like were fighting for, freedom and fighting for, people that be able to have the right to, be free. So
right.
Like I said, Conrad wrote a great script, and I think just visually making sure when people watched it, they knew that this was something that was genuine, that these people are, fighters, and that when they watch it, they're inspired by it and educated, and also hoping that it moves people to want to go out and do something as well, go out and make a change and difference. So that was always, I think we were all on the same page on that aspect of making the film.
Awesome. Conrad?
Yeah. When it came to putting the story together, I had a rough script based on kind of the points we were going to hit when it came to masking in schools and CRT and Shapiro and Wolf administration and mandates and things like this that like I wanted to hit. But as Josh can testify, we kind of had a looser outline, and then we went and we talked to people, I flew up there 2-3 times. We talked to people for hours and hours, got really some pretty long in-depth interviews in that, most of that not in the movie because there was so much stuff going on. But then hearing the story, I was able to fill in exactly kind of the passion and the heart behind those flashpoints and hear the details that affected people personally. Like, sure, you can hear about things like a mandate or a lockdown or a teacher teaching propaganda to your kids in school. But when you hear it from a parent, you hear it from a business owner, or you hear it from somebody or a child or someone like that, then that's where you get like what Josh talked about, the kind of thing that can mobilize somebody to vote, or mobilize somebody to take action, or mobilize somebody to stand up for what's right. So I think having such a broad spectrum of people across a state like Pennsylvania, which is it's so representative of different parts of America, with rural Americans and suburban, like huge ex-urban areas of major metropolitan areas, and then deep urban areas. And, you have the Great Lakes, and you have Amish country, and a huge population of deeply traditional religious, kind of transgressive people living outside of mainstream society. So all of these people coming together, and then seeing how, as we now see with a campaign like Doug's, that people are, and just the craziness that was COVID in 2020, people realized the stakes of, I guess, globalism versus patriotism. And there's just so many stories to tell that, the movie could have been a lot longer, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, so I mean, that leads into this next question, Conrad, because this is your forte about how what's happening in Pennsylvania is a microcosm of what's actually happening, not just in the whole of the country, but the whole of the world, in many respects. So you and I both aren't from Pennsylvania. At least you're in the great state of Texas. I have to weep every time I say I'm from Delaware, about an hour away from where Joe Biden fell, but marked by Biden Falls, I believe, on Google Maps. But we've seen an amazing example of worldwide trends going on in Pennsylvania. Why should patriots all over the world watch this movie?
I just think it provides everything from a broad blueprint to just very, very inspirational stories that so many people out there I think could relate to, whether they're even in Europe or in South America or in California or Texas. Like, we hear about things in Italy or in even Germany or states where that aren't even, as you might say, down their road of resistance towards globalism as America is with the Trump revolution. But in this documentary, you'll see that from the lowest levels to the highest levels, you can do what's right, and both peacefully, governmentally, electorally, you can stand up against what we might call the globalist elite system. We have people running for school board. You only need a few hundred votes to win a school board election. We have people running for state house and Senate in Pennsylvania, which that's up to more, 5 figures, four or 5 figures of votes it takes to win. Then we have someone like Doug, who's running to be the governor of one of the biggest states in America. And all of these people are working together. They're talking to each other. Doug doesn't view somebody in free PA or at a school board as any less important than he is in this fight. And so some of the people you see in this movie can run for school board or run for state house or run for police commissioner or any of these kinds of things in the community, so can anybody that's watching it. So I think it's and until we do that, being distracted by national politics, and it's all important. It's very important to be informed and involved, but until you want to make a difference there, you got to make a difference on the ground and in your local community. And this, I think, documentary really shows that.
Well said. Now, I do want to touch on something that I talked about earlier, and I know I'm always kidding around with you two on this. With you guys being so young, the older I get, the more I so honor the youth of our world, or I also get worried that youth is wasted on the young. But for those of you who are watching, many of you may not be familiar with the fact that we actually have studies that show that Gen Z is actually the most conservative generation that we have on record. More Gen Z 18-year-olds identify as conservatives than any previous generation, going back to the boomers. And by far, by the way, it's about 30% identify as conservatives, whereas, say, boomers, it would have been about 18 or 19% back in the day who identified as conservatives when they were 18. So Josh and Conrad, obviously you are part of that 30%. What message do you have for other Gen Zers or particularly younger millennials, those in their 20s, who feel like the world is falling apart and they want to do something about it?
Yeah, I would say continue to not follow after the crowd, but find out where truth is, because I think in a world where social media is much bigger than it was when even I was younger, you see so much happening. So many people are just trying to have a certain image, or they're trying to, I guess, get likes and approval. And, it's just and also being told how you're supposed to think. And it's just so much noise everywhere. And I believe Gen Zers are looking for something genuine, something real, we're in this social media realm, this metaverse, we're in this realm all the time, but what's real, what's behind the scenes? And I think that's why I think a lot of Gen Zers are waking up, because they want to, they like I said, they want to know what's real. They want a good future. They want to be free, and I'd say continue to press into finding what truth is, and yeah. So
awesome. Conrad?
No, you're totally right, Josh. And I think everything you said is true, Steve. And while a lot of older people might think they see the younger people getting more and more liberal, and on one end of the spectrum, the liberalism is getting maybe more extreme, but they're missing the fact that that's breeding an equally strong reaction on the other side. So that 30%, they're not, these aren't your Bill Crystals. These are, this is ultra MAGA we're talking about here.
Right.
And and when you realize that for the first time since, remember when like gay marriage and these issues, the approval for that, the culture war battle on that went out the window with Obergefell versus Hodges. But I believe it was 2020 for the first time since, the record was being taken, like young people's support for like what you would call the LGBT agenda, like went down. And that's because
dramatically. Yep.
Yeah. And that was even included a lot of millennials actually. And part of this is like Josh said, people are involved in this milieu. There's so much going on and people kind of want something more genuine. And me and Steve have talked about this. There's something even more than just politics. There's somewhat of a re-enchantment going on in society, and modernist secularism, which was, atheism, these kinds of just rank materialism and kind of rule by experts, which is so key to globalism, is kind of falling apart before our eyes. And we're seeing people return to faith. Young people are sometimes being more traditional in their faith than their parents even are. And I guess my message to young people would be, don't be afraid to be more conservative or more religious or more right wing or stand up more strongly against the system than even your parents. You might think they're crazy conservative boomers or Gen Xers or whatever, but there's nothing wrong with standing up for what you perceive. What I think a lot of people are seeing is obvious, craziness going on in our society. So be strong,
Right.
Trust in the Lord, don't waver. There's more people like you than you think.
Yeah. What you just said, really. Yeah. Go for it, Josh.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I do think, like Trump also probably has something to do with that too. His run for president really woke up a lot of, Gen Zers and people like, oh, wait a second, what's going on here? Like he made people want to see what's going on in politics more, because he was like this normal guy who just showed up out of nowhere and was just honest and real. And I guess Gen Zers related to that, because a lot of times they're just honest and like straightforward. So I guess so yeah, I definitely agree. Like I agree with everything Conrad said,
Yeah. No, it also reminded me too of how shocked in the Catholic Church they were when they brought back the Latin Mass a few years back, and they were expecting, these 60, 70, 80 octogenarians come in and say, oh, I remember this is how we used to worship when I was a little girl. And they were shocked to find out that the demographic that was most attracted to bringing back the Latin Mass and facing east when performing the Eucharist and all that sort of stuff were 18 or 16 to 26-year-olds. They were stunned by it, and they just seemed to hunger and crave a sense of tradition and authenticity and the like. So I think you guys are right on there. So just summing it all up from you guys, what do you think people are missing out on if they don't watch this awesome movie, The Return of the American Patriot?
Oh man, I think they're missing out on being inspired, and educated. Like just hearing these everyday people, these normal people, sharing their experience, their testimonials, and like understanding that they can relate to these people when you watch it. It's like, you can go out and do something. You can make a difference. You don't have to wait for politician. You don't have to wait for someone to tell you to. You as an individual, where you are now, can make a difference and go out, and make change. And I think this documentary it highlights that, and I highly encourage people to watch it.
Awesome.
Very true. It's very true. You'll be missing out on some inspiration and just a great story. Like this thing grew legs that me and Josh didn't think it would. We didn't think we'd have people protesting and threatening to burn down theaters for us showing this thing. And we didn't expect 1,200 people to drive a little bit farther away to come and watch it in the rain. So it's a big thing in Pennsylvania. People all over the state are going to be watching it live as well as online. So watch it live. You'll get to be able to watch it forever. And it's just a great story. Josh put together a great presentation, and I think everybody will enjoy it. So give it a watch, September 15th.
Yeah, the storytelling both through script and cinematography was stunning. Absolutely stunning. And on a personal note, I was incredibly proud when you both got up there and they gave the whole 1,200 people gave you a standing ovation. I mean, the reception of this movie when it premiered live was unbelievable. I mean, the standing O at the end of that, at the end of when the credits were rolling, people were just pumped. And gang, you know, you're going to be.
I was almost moved to tears.
Yeah, no, I could see it. I could see it. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful and absolutely wonderful to see. Just sitting back, because I know how hard you guys worked on it, and to see how much people appreciated that and loved that. It's just wonderful. And hopefully, you know, this is just the beginning. So, gang, you've got to check this amazing story out. I'm telling you, this new movie, The Return of the American Patriot, The Rise of Pennsylvania, available now for pre-purchase with your virtual premiere, our virtual premiere on September 15th. Just click on the link below, or you can go to the returnoftheamericanpatriot.com. You're going to get 25% off. We'll hopefully see you on September 15th, as well as we all enjoy together the virtual premiere of the streaming. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you, Conrad, Josh, you guys, for all your hard work in this movie. You are amazing.
Got it. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Conrad.
Thanks, Steve. Adios, Josh.